40. That's the end. 30 seconds. 420 pounds. Oh, that's it. Is that a way that we do? Oh, no, this is. I'm sorry.
That's enough for you.
Everybody jump. Look at the bad. Janet, stand up.
2, 1.
Good evening. It is 6:00 p.m. and I am calling the Town of Spring Lake Board of Commissioners meeting, regular meeting to order. Would you please, do I have Bishop Biggers? Would you all please, could you come up for the pledge of allegiance and invocation? Will the invocation followed by the pledge of allegiance? Please stand if you choose.
Good evening.
Father, we just want to thank you for the opportunity to assemble, God, around your throne of grace again this evening. God, to tell you thank you. Thank you for protecting us all day long, how you have met every need according to your riches which are in Christ Jesus. God, how God, you've been a way maker, God, a healer, a deliverer, and we just want to say thank you. We want to thank you, Father God, for your hedge of protection for Spring Lake and the nearby surrounding towns and cities, Father God. We want to thank you for being so merciful towards us as the tornado passed over us, Debbie, God, in the name of Jesus. And we just praise you this evening, and in the absence of our mayor, God, we just want to take a pause and reflect on your goodness and thank you for all EMS workers, Father God, whether they be at the fire department or the police department, Father God, those that are doing, God, the ambulance services, God, even those, God, that's on this board, Father. We thank you for their selfless services, Father God, as you have given them rule over your people, God, and you're leading and guiding them on decisions, what is best, God, for our community. And we just want to thank you. So as we be about this business, God, you be the influence of every thought and every decision. We give you glory and we give you honor. It is in your Son, Jesus' name, that we do pray. Amen. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please make sure your cell phones are turned to vibrate and that you have very little sidebar conversations while we try to conduct the business of the town. Thank you. So now we'll move on to additions and deletions. Commissioner Palacios.
Make a motion to add budget amendment 4, fiscal year 2025 for HVAC Town Hall. And
that's going under,
consent items.
thank you.
And approval for budget amendment 5, gravel truck sanitation department.
Okay, and we'll put that under new business F. Can I get a second on that motion? Commissioner Blackman.
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, unanimous. And now, we will get a motion to to approve the consent items. And that's, draft minutes of May 15, 2024 special meeting, Military and Veterans Affairs Advisory Committee application, appoint Jesse Underwood. Board of Adjustment application, appoint Mary Jackson. Budget Amendment 3, F year 2025, Donations Police Department. Ordinance number 2503, ordinance amending the 2024-25 fee schedule, and budget amendment 4, for fiscal year 2025 HVAC Town Hall. Can I get a motion? Commissioner Chadwick,
So moved.
any discussion? Second? Commissioner Thompson,
I second.
any discussion? Commissioner Letton?
Thank you, Madam President. On the Military Veterans Affairs Committee, we had Jesse Underwood that applied to become one of our members. He's already come to a meeting, and he would have been here tonight, but he had dental surgery done, and so he's not here, but he was wanting to come here and meet the board, and he's excited to join the Military Veterans Affairs. So looking forward to what Jesse will be bringing to our committee and to our town, so thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Blackman. And I did want to acknowledge, Miss Mary Jackson, who, will be on our Board of Adjustment, who is in the audience. Can you let everybody, thank you so much and welcome. Welcome. All right, so moving on to public comment, we have. Oh, my goodness. Can I get a, you didn't move tonight? Oh,
Yes.
all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. All right, public comment. I have two people. First, Mr. Patrick Morrison. Please state your name and address and topic of concern.
All right, so I'm Patrick Morrison, business owner here in Spring Lake. We got two businesses, and just wanted to thank everybody that's been involved in making Spring Lake a better place and cleaning up the town. And a lot of the residents are coming to me as a member of the appearance committee. I hear a lot, and a lot of people are concerned that nothing's getting done. But I tell them all about all the things that are getting done behind the scenes, and a lot of stuff they don't see. And a lot more people are noticing the changes in the town. So I just wanted to bring that and let everybody know that your efforts are appreciated. And this goes for everybody in the community that shows up to the cleanups, but it all involves people taking ownership of their own little space. And, you know, that's where it starts. I take pride. Well, that being said, my mom always told me never make a scene, but I didn't listen. So, but we wanted to invite everybody out to our grand opening. We're doing a few things. We're looking for artists. They can do sculptures. We got a lot of paintings, but we'd love to have some more paintings. So bring them out to our grand opening, put them up in Spring Lake's only antique store and museum, art museum. And in conjunction with that, we're also doing a cat adoption event. So there's a lot of unhomed cats around. And if you go around Spring Lake, I know there's one that lives right over here and comes over all the time and begs for food. I go over, there's about 10 colonies around that I go around and feed. And we'd like to encourage everybody to get their cats. There's a program called TNVR, Trap, Neuter, Vaccinate, Release. You can get vouchers to get them for free. There's a overpopulation of cats. They're great by doing this to them. We're not extincting a species because they'll keep multiplying. But they live a lot longer, healthier when they're fixed and vaccinated. They don't fight. They don't get sick as much. So if you get up with me, you can come by the motorcycle shop behind the ABC store, the one with the motorcycle on the roof, and I can give you all the information you need to know to get vouchers. But come out Saturday. From 11 to 6, we'll be doing the grand opening, and hope to see some people out and bring some art, come out and enjoy some art, and look forward to seeing everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Second, we have Mr. Stephen Brock. Name, address, and, topic of concern.
Yes, ma'am. I'm Stephen Brock, as stated. I appreciate everybody having me stand and just present this evening. Address, I actually live right on the cusp, 14 Old Pine Court, so right there at the, it's considered Harnett County, but it's Spring Lake, so it's kind of strange. That being said, so kind of in the same vein as the gentleman prior to me was talking, I've been actually since January of 24, been running a baseball and softball program out of Edward Mendoza Park. I've been asking Fayetteville for updates to that field and care for that field for a very long time. And been getting quite the runaround. In fact, I can't even find it on their website for recommendations. You can go on Fix-It, but it's not available. Bottom line is that I would like to set up a fundraiser, or at least lead it, run it, and potentially in collaboration with professionals out of Fayetteville, maybe with some backing of Spring Lake. But bottom line is that that could be a heartbeat here of Spring Lake. So once we can improve that, we can bring in baseball and softball tournaments, which is huge here in the South. And you can host even more events out there. But bottom line, when I'm coaching the softball girls here out of Spring Lake, they're very young, but I can't even hit softballs to them on the actual infields. There's just too many rocks. I've had girls get eaten up out in the outfield by ants. They're just not properly taking care of it. I would like to do that and take care of it with any support or recommendations for your end. That's all.
Thank you. Okay, so now we have the National Night Out Proclamation. We're not gonna read that, but we do always acknowledge National Night Out. We did not have an actual event this year because we did have the first Friday. But we did want to acknowledge that. And then moving on to, we have Cumberland County Animal Services. We have Elaine Smith here. Oh, there you go. I'm here. Step up now.
Oh, good evening, commissioners.
Good evening.
And I brought a quick slide presentation, just so I make sure I cover all the bases this way and get the information you guys need. I'll keep this to less than what I was told, which was 15 minutes, so it'll definitely be less than that. So just to introduce myself, I'm Elaine Smith. I am the Director of Cumberland County Animal Services. And I'm here to give you just a quick overview of Animal Services. That's what I was requested to cover. So obviously if there's anything beyond that you have questions about, we'll have a little time at the end. But I'm going to go over our mission and our department organization, some statistics, how we've improved over the years, and how citizens can help. So I'm not going to read this out loud, but this is our mission statement. Basically, we're here to help citizens and pets. So we're here both for the folks that are in need of assistance with a pet issue, and also to help pets who are having an issue because they're being mistreated or neglected. Obviously, we're also dedicated, as all the county departments are, to providing excellent customer service to the citizens of our county, and that includes, obviously, the citizens of Spring Lake. Our department is organized into 5 sections. We have field services, which is the animal services officers that go out in the field. Shelter services, caring for the animals at our shelter. Veterinary services, that's the veterinary medical department of our shelter. Customer service and administration. Our field services staff, and that's a picture of me as when I was hired as an animal control at the time officer in 2012, along with Commissioner Lackman. We were hired at the same time, so I was pleased to see him here. Although hopefully he doesn't have any embarrassing stories about me. I may have some other see me afterwards. So we, our officers cover the entire county, and that includes all the municipalities as well as the parts of Fort Liberty that are within the county. Officers are on duty. Their regular shift is from 8 a.m. until 6 p.m. and then they are on call after hours. They handle over 30,000 calls for service a year, so that's about 82 a day. And I will say we spent a couple of years being very understaffed, so we have a pretty large backlog of non-emergency calls that we're attempting to work through. But when you have 82 more coming in a day, it's really hard to get ahead of the curve. Our officers are not law enforcement officers. We are civilians. We do not have the power to write criminal citations. We do not have the power to arrest or charge anyone with any kind of crime. So I'm going to kind of go a little bit in order of priority here. So citizens who have an emergency. And I'm defining emergency here. So that means an unsecured aggressive animal, an animal who's bitten a person when that animal's unsecured, an animal who has attacked another animal where there's like immediate intervention needed to save a life of an animal or to secure the aggressor. A severely sick or injured animal that is in need of immediate medical attention to save its life. Extreme cruelty or neglect, so again, when an animal is at risk of death unless it's immediately intervened with, and high-risk rabies vector, which is an animal that's at high risk of transmitting rabies, so those are in our state, bats, raccoons, foxes, skunks, and coyotes, if they're inside the living space of a residence. So these are all what we consider emergencies. We would ask that citizens call 911 if they have one of these issues, and that is obviously 24/7, 365, and we are available. The reason we ask that calls be routed through 911 is in some of these instances, a Spring Lake police officer may be able to respond quicker than we can, and in that case, they will also kind of be in the loop, and 911 could send the appropriate personnel, or if they need medical attention or anything like that, that can be already started. And then we will be en route as soon as possible to assist with the situation. Non-emergencies, so that's everything else. So that's my neighbor's dog barks too much, my neighbor lets their dog run loose, my neighbor doesn't pick up their dog's poop when they walk in the neighborhood. Those are lower priority calls, and we're gonna handle them as soon as an officer is available. So citizens who have those types of issues should call our shelter at the number above or email. Now, I realize this may be something you guys hear, our phones are very, very, very busy. If someone calls, what we advise is please leave a voicemail message and someone will call you back if we're not able to answer directly the first time. And we're answering the phones at the shelter from 9 till 5, Monday through Friday, and 1 to 5 on Saturdays. And as I mentioned about on-call with our officers, so their shift ends at 6 p.m., so at night, from 6 p.m. until the next morning at 8 a.m., we have one officer who is on call to cover the whole county. And what we ask is that for any issues that arise that were on that emergency list or after hours, that we please have law enforcement or somebody else present, and that is just for everyone's safety and security. When things are happening at night, we ask that somebody kind of make sure the scene is secure before we respond out there. We'll get to the rest of it. So that's pretty much our officers and responding to field services. The rest of our department is made up of these other sections. Shelter staff, we care for over 7,000 animals a year coming through our shelter. It's a very large number. We can house around 300 dogs and cats in our facility on a day-to-day basis. We also do have livestock, exotic animals, poultry, pretty much anything that you can think of, we have had it at the shelter, from a tarantula to a cow. So we can kind of cover everything. Animals obviously require care every day. No exceptions, no time off for holidays or inclement weather or anything like that. So we have staff that have to come in and care for those animals every day, no matter what. Shelter attendants must also euthanize animals, and we have to do that sometimes for animals just due to a lack of space, which is one of our big issues. Is our community and our overpopulation problem with animals in this county does create sometimes a need to euthanize a perfectly healthy adoptable animal just due to space, and that's our biggest concern, obviously. State law mandates that any stray animal that's brought into our shelter must be held for 3 business days before it can be put up for adoption. So that sometimes can cause a backlog. If we have a stray animal, it has to stay there 3 days before we can release it to be adopted or to a rescue or anything like that. Our customer service staff, they're the ones that answer the phones, so they are handling over 150 phone calls a day, and at the same time assisting an average of 50 to 60 walk-in customers per day. They process adoptions, they return pets to the owner, they take in animals that are being surrendered or brought in as a stray, and obviously they deal with all ranges of emotion from our customers, whether somebody who's super happy because they're adopting a new pet or somebody who's upset because they've been issued a civil citation for a violation of the county ordinances. Our veterinary group, we do have a veterinarian on staff. Dr. Geringer joined us in 2022. She basically is there to treat and oversee the medical care of animals in our shelter. We are not a licensed vet hospital, therefore we cannot offer services to the public. We can only care for animals that are legally ours due to an owner not showing up to reclaim them, or obviously if it's an emergency, if it's a stray animal in our care that we have no owner identified. But if there is a legal owner, we cannot provide care for that animal in our shelter. They have to take it to a private veterinary hospital. She also does spay and neuter surgery on adoptable dogs and cats as time permits. But she primarily is examining and treating sick and injured animals. So it's usually 30 to 40 animals a day that are getting care. And as I mentioned, we unfortunately are not able to offer services to the public at this time. Our intake in 2023 was, as I mentioned, over 7,000 animals. Most of them, the biggest category being strays at 59%, and then owner surrenders at 33%. So that's pretty much it. Almost all of our animals are either strays or abandoned. We do have some that we take into custody because they're being, let's say it's an animal cruelty case and we're confiscating the animals, or if our compadres in blue had to, say, a drug bust and there's animals on the premises, we're bringing those animals into our shelter. But for the most part, the big issues we have are strays and owner surrenders coming into our shelter. And as far as outcomes, we're adopting over half. We send about just under 20% to rescue groups. We send only less than 10%. So that's one of our big issues is people don't come and look for their pets and reclaim their pets, whether that's that they have no intention of reclaiming or they don't know we're here. We're gonna start pushing some initiatives to really let people know, please come to the shelter if your pet's missing. But unfortunately, about 20% are unfortunately have to be euthanized. To be considered a no-kill shelter, we need to get that number below 10%. And that's our goal, long-term. How have we improved? So when Councilman Lackman and I were hired, it was not a good place for cats. In 2012, less than 10% of cats that entered our shelter left alive, which I'm just being blunt. Now, however, we're over 70%. We're going to be over 80% for 2024, I think. So we're doing a lot better as far as saving cats that come into our shelter. In 2012, only 44%, so less than half of dogs left our shelter alive. Now that is over 84%. So we're doing a much better job than we did, but a lot of this is just due to implementing new programs and initiatives to try to help people keep their pets rather than surrendering them to a shelter. And also it's due to our TNVR program. We're seeing a great outcome with that as far as not having as many feral cats having to enter our shelter. Instead, they're getting altered and vaccinated, and we're seeing a definite decrease in the number of kittens that are coming in and being produced this year. We need citizens to help us with volunteering, fostering, adopting. As we always say, if you can adopt. If you can't adopt, then foster, which is short term. So little kittens that are too young to be adopted, we need people to foster them. They're great. They're a lot of fun. They're like grandkids. You can give them back when you're done with them, right? If you can't do any of that, volunteer, come out and volunteer, or donate. We have a wish list on Amazon, and we can always use even things like newspapers. We need newspapers all the time, so people still get the paper, save your newspapers and bring them by. And spread the word. We're on Facebook. So social media is a big thing with animal activism. So questions. I tried to make that as quick as I could, and I lost my clock, so I
Commissioner Lackman.
All right. Director, thank you for coming today. We appreciate your insights and just the things that are happening with Cumberland County with the animal control. Spring Lake is part of Cumberland County, and that's why I asked that you come here tonight to kind of.
you were the reason.
I'm guilty as charged. I'm the one that wanted you to come here to talk about animal control, because we are a huge military population. We've got that turnover of personnel, and that's why maybe the numbers are kind of skewed as people are leaving, they're going overseas, maybe not being able to take their animals or think that they can take their animals. And so it's good to have you here, talking about the initiatives that are going on with the animal control services. We're glad that you all are here and the services that you provide. And I would like that if you have a couple slides that we can get that to Carly, so we can kind of start pushing that out to our town residents here so that they see what services.
Absolutely, and I also brought some of our brochures that we have that gives a general overview as well. These are designed for citizens, and some for our community cat program too.
The
So.
location, the hours
Got it all.
are
Yep.
fabulous. Bringing you here to put a name and a face together for the rest of the board here to see that. So I'm glad that you're here. And as we go through here, one of the things that we need to start discussing is leash laws, tethering, vaccination clinics, if there's gonna be anything like that, so we can start pushing that for our residents to have that available.
Absolutely.
As well.
Absolutely. We're here for you guys, so, you know, I've got, some of my cards here, so I think everybody's probably can guess my email just from the county, format, but, I have all that information here. I'll leave this with Carly, and she can make sure you guys have copies of this, so you know what we have available. But we're happy to do it. We'd love to come out to you for events, things like that. If there are, you know, large community events that you think would, have a draw that, you know, we could come out. We love to bring, we have a mobile adoption van. We can come out with animals and set up and do adoptions, or just hand out information. You know, we're out there recruiting for volunteers and things like that too, so.
And glad to see that you've moved up in the ranks.
I moved up a little bit in the world.
But thank you very much.
Thanks.
This is a little bit off topic. I know a lot of people always call 911 for like wildlife, like snakes and everything. So do you know who to call? Because they say that they call a number that they give, but the number is out of service. So do you happen to?
There is an 800 number for the state wildlife, but, to be honest, depending on the situation, now we're gonna come out, again, if it is a rabies vector and it's in your living space. Because believe it or not, we get people that say, there's a raccoon that lives in the tree in my yard, please come get it. And we say, no, I'm sorry, we can't do that. Now, and honestly, if it's a snake and it's a situation where it's a citizen who says, look, I'm trying to get, you know, your proverbial little old lady who needs to get to her doctor's appointment or whatever, and there's a snake, you know, on her porch where she can't get out her front door, call us.
Okay.
You know, we'll, if we can get somebody out there, we'll get somebody out there absolutely as soon as we can. You know, we're here to help. But if it's something that is, you know, people call all the time about, well, I have snakes in my yard, or have snakes, you know, that it went across my yard yesterday, 18 hours ago. You know, we're not gonna come out for that. We can definitely refer people to wildlife, and there's some good website, a very good website with the North Carolina Wildlife Federation that shows all the different species of wildlife and how to live along with them, or how to keep them away from your property if you want to discourage them. So there's a lot of good resources out there about wildlife. So we're there here to help when there's an actual public safety issue, so to speak. But people do need to kind of learn sometimes that they have to, you know, the wildlife was here first.
Yes.
And we sometimes have to learn how to kind of get along with that.
Absolutely.
So, but we're here to help, so,
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
thank you.
Next we have, Yard of the Month. With, Commissioner Raul Palacio.
All right, Yard of the Month. So Yard of the Month is the opportunity that the town honors its neighbors and citizens to maintain and upkeep their property in a way that beautifies Spring Lake. So we want to recognize these. The winners this month, Paul and Anita Miller. Howard Adams in Deerfield. And Teresa Moore in Holly Hills. So I don't think anyone's here today. Are any of the winners here? No. The mayor still has to sign these certificates when she gets back from vacation, but we'll get these sent out to our citizens. Thank you again, and next time maybe you can be the winner. Next time.
Thank you, Commissioner Palacio. And now we'll move on to new business. We have, AA approved ordinance 2501, adopting the Golden Leaf Foundation grant. That will be, Mr. Rory, yay.
Mayor Pro Tem, I'm actually gonna call our finance director, Jimmy Overton, to the podium, please.
Oh,
So you can give you a
Mr.
quick briefing in
Overton,
regards to
yay.
all of these project ordinances.
Welcome.
Okay. The Golden Leaf Foundation is a grant of $750,000. We have to match it with a 10% donation of $75,000. And this project is for stormwater improvements. The town had received this award and it was sent to the local government commission last month for their approval. However, they turned all of the control of the finances back over to the town, so they did not approve it. So now it is up to the town to approve this grant ordinance. So I recommend or ask your approval of this $825,000 stormwater project.
Commissioner Palacios?
And this money, for the 10%, and that's coming from the.
General fund, there's the next budget amendment is a amendment to the general fund to transfer our $75,000 match, 10%.
So I'm looking at this, and it has, that the transfer is stormwater fund, so it's not coming from the general? fund?
Yes, ma'am, it's coming from stormwater fund,
Stormwater.
not general. It is coming from the stormwater fund.
Okay.
Yes.
We budget $110,000 a year as part of the stormwater fund. That's where the transfer's coming from, that's a capital project.
Okay, all right, thank you. Can I get a motion? Commissioner Lackman?
Thank you, Pro Tem. So moved.
Commissioner Chadwick?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Thank you. All right, next is, approve ordinance 2502, amended in 2024, 25 stormwater fund budget. Mr. Overton.
Okay, this is an amendment to actually transfer 75,000 from the stormwater fund to the capital project fund.
Yeah.
Stormwater 75,000. Our required 10% match.
Commissioner Palacios.
Make a motion to approve ordinance 2502, ordinance amended at 2024-2025 stormwater fund budget.
Commissioner Thompson.
I second.
Any questions, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. All right, approve the grant project ordinance, Office of State Budget and Maintenance Grant for the Spring Lake Computer Hardware and Software Project. Mr. Overton.
Okay, we have received a grant of $250,000 to replace the computer hardware and software here at Town Hall and several other departments. We also included in that grant is about $14,000 to copy all of our files that are in boxes all over town and put them on a digital format. So we've got lots of boxes in various people's offices that need to be copied and scanned, and so this grant will also pay for that. There's no match required. It's 100% grant, $250,000, and we have some old equipment here that needs to be replaced. So I would request your approval of this budget amendment to buy some new computers and software.
Your motion. Commissioner Thompson.
So moved.
Commissioner Chadwick.
I second.
Any discussion? Commissioner Lackman.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Mr. Ori, thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Williams. Thank you. To all the town employees that have had a piece in this, taking our DOS, our Windows 95 capabilities up to the digital cloud. Thank you. This has been long overdue. We've needed this for some time, so I can't say it enough. Thank you for taking efforts and pushing this forward. Mr. Overton, thank you for being the spearhead on this now. Thank you.
Well, all I did was a budget amendment.
I just hope you approve it because the money's actually already in our account.
Yeah, they said about 2 or 3 days ago, we actually got the money. We haven't spent any of it yet, so.
Well, it's time to spend that money to use.
Well, anybody else? I'm excited. I'm excited because I've been trying to find documents from who knows when. And if anybody knows me, I'm the one that's gonna look for something or ask for something. So I'm excited. Thank you. And I can't wait to get it.
Well,
in
you're
my
welcome
hands.
to come to our office and dig through all the boxes anytime you want to.
We have 47 file cabinets in town hall alone. So, yeah, this doesn't even get us to the end, but it gets us started. That's the only way I know to finish the race is to start.
Well, I volunteered to come scan some stuff. But any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Unanimous? All right, approve ordinance number 2504, ordinance adopting the Office of State Budget and Management grant, ID 11544, Spring Lake Parks Grant. Mr. Overton, once again.
This is, we also received a $400,000, grant to, add walking and bike trails to one of the town's parks. This is a park that we actually paved the trail several years ago, but is now overgrown. We've got a grant to redo that. We did put in a 5% contingency of $20,000, but we're not required to do that. That's just in case we need it, okay, to make this grant, ordinance balanced. But it's $500,000 to put in a gazebo, playground, picnic tables, benches, and to put in a parking area and repave those trails out of the park. So I ask your approval for this grant.
On behalf of the mayor, I know she's gonna be giddy, cause that's one of her babies. Anyone else have any discussion? Can I get a motion?
So,
I second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous, okay. I think that's it for you, Mr.
We will have a couple more, grant ordinances for you at the next meeting.
Well, you want me to, do you mind if I skip and let him do F, the grapple truck sanitation? Is it, yeah, I'm gonna skip, so that you don't have to get back up.
Okay.
So I'm skipping over to,
Okay.
F, budget amendment for VA5 grapple truck sanitation department.
Yes, ma'am. Last year, the town ordered a new grapple truck for the sanitation department. However, that truck was not delivered until July the 26th, a couple of weeks ago. So we need to the truck costs $209,500 and change, something like that. We just need to rebudget that in the current year because we did not receive it by June 30th.
Thank you. Any discussion? Can I get a motion? Commissioner Chadwick?
I make a motion to approve the budget amendment BA-5, Rapid Truck Sanitation Department, Town of Spring Lake.
Can I get a second? Commissioner Rackman?
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Yes, I did. Any opposed? Unanimously, Bill. Thank you so much, Mr. Overton. All right, we're gonna go back to, E, discussion regarding code enforcement and ordinance updates with our wonderful police chief, Errol Drummond. Is that not interim?
I'm supposed to say interim, I apologize.
Oh, okay.
Mayor Pro Tem, I
Yes.
would like to introduce this topic on behalf
Okay, go
of
ahead.
the police chief, Harold Garland. The interim or not, it's coming. So we'll go ahead and get in front of that, let everybody know that that's coming. We're gonna drop that in our interim as quickly as possible. Got a picture I want you to look at. And tonight's topic is the beginning topic as it relates to all things code enforcement throughout the town of Spring Lake, whether it's weeds, vehicles, or whatever. And so, one of the things that I've asked Chief Jarman to do is to evaluate and look at our current code and ordinances as it relates to three topics. The first one being junk vehicles, or abandoned vehicles, or whatever you wanna call them. And so, the others will come later: weeds, tall grass, and junk piles, I guess is the best way to put it, or maintaining garbage piles. And so this picture, I noticed this one probably a couple weeks ago. I went out today and got it just for this event. So this was as part of one of my windshield surveys. And I found this, and there's truth to that. Y'all, I do actually get out and ride around and look at stuff. And so I find this picture, but I would ask for you to define that. What is that car?
A classic.
Classic.
Everybody say.
And
What is it?
It's a classic.
It's a classic.
I don't know, is it antique, classic? I don't know, how do you define that?
It's just sitting there going to waste.
Chevrolet.
They need to sell it.
It's a Chevrolet, I don't even know what it is.
How you?
I'm asking that question because of that very reason. This, is not a junk vehicle in the eyes of whoever owns it. In the eyes of others, it's an antique, it's classic. It may or may not run. But as we go through how do we deal with these situations throughout the town, you'll find that there's no single right answer. All we can do is write code to try to address this, even though there may not be a perfect answer. This is less than 1 block away from Town Hall. Notice the weeds growing under it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I just want you to keep that in mind, that, what is it? One man's trash is another man's treasure. Right? One man's trash is another man's treasure. If it was easy, it would have already been done, and there's going to be complications and issues that we have to deal with as we move through these types of evolving, trying to update our ordinances. Commissioner Palacios asked, were they strong enough, I think it was, is how we put it. The response was simply, no, they're not. So we're gonna have to go through this and adjust them. So with that, I just wanted to introduce that. What is this? One man's trash is another man's treasure. Chief John, your show.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem, Commissioners. So at the direction of Mr. Rory, in an effort to have a force multiplier and therefore increase our efficiency with code enforcement, he has either placed code enforcement or will be placing code enforcement with the police department. Kind of what I envision that looking like is simply our officers are out on patrol, they see these things. In the past, they've seen them and subconsciously in their mind probably said, that's not one of my areas of concerns. But everything is an area of concern for the police department. So we are in a position to see these things while we're out on patrol, and be a force multiplier to identify these and then address them. So as we address these things, starting with, first of all, it's abandoned and junk vehicles. First thing I would like for us to do as we start enforcing these ordinances and talking about these ordinances is educating our citizens on what our ordinances are that you have approved as a board. And we can do that by placing it on the police department social media as well as other social medias and outlets as well. But kind of moving forward, if you've read the packet that I submitted to you for review, I definitely do not want, as the police department engages in code enforcement, for it to necessarily be a controversial encounter with our citizens, particularly out of the gate. But I want us to have the ability to enforce the ordinances that you and I can expect us to enforce. The way I kind of envision this moving forward is when we identify an issue like this, is that we simply give them a notice of the ordinance violation. The ordinance violation or the definition for a junked or abandoned vehicle is simply a vehicle that doesn't have a license plate. And then there's several other elements that could be that it's been wrecked and not operable, the motor doesn't work and it's not operable, or if it's less than $100 in value. So as we identify these, I believe there are 2 options that may be a quick fix for the property owner as well as be a fix for the town, so to bring them in compliance. What I would like to do when we notify them either by a mailer or by notifying them with a door hanger that they're in violation of what that violation is simply let them know that they have the option. Some of these vehicle owners may not want the car, but they just simply don't know what to do with it, and so it's sitting there. Is offer them information with local vendors here in the Spring Lake area that buy junk vehicles. Simply let them know that you do not want the vehicle anymore, you don't know what to do with it. Here's a list of 3 or 5 vendors that will come to your home or your business, take the vehicle, tow it for free, and pay you for the car, which will eliminate their issue if they don't know what to do with it, and our issue as a town for having it blocked. So that would be one of the things that we would want to let them know up front and early on. The second option would require action by you, the board, to add some information to an ordinance. And if you've read the ordinance proposals that I sent to you written in red. Would be a quick fix is if you, have a junk vehicle or an abandoned vehicle and you place it behind the house and you utilize a commercially manufactured grade car cover to cover the car. That is not currently an option in the ordinance, but that may be one that would be a quick fix for a vehicle owner that, for whatever reason, doesn't want to get rid of it. It belongs to granddad, grandma, and they're just not ready to get rid of it. But by definition, it is a junk vehicle, where they utilize not a tarp, not a bed sheet or bed covering, but a commercial grade car cover to completely cover the car, and if it's behind the building. I got this idea, it wasn't an original idea, I was looking at other towns and cities, what they do with code enforcement, and there are several towns that allow for a quick fix, simply covering a commercial grade car cover. And in the proposal that I sent for you to review, actually defines what a commercial car carrier is, so that we don't have a blue tarp or two bricks on the end, when windstorm comes by, and it looks worse than it did to start with. So, those are two quick options to fix and remedy the problem. So in the notification, it would be a 30-day notification to come in compliance with your ordinance. And if they do not do so, then we have other options that have more enforcement actions to it that haven't come into compliance or led us to believe that they're going to be coming into compliance very shortly. One of those can be fines, as is approved by your current ordinance, under the general topic of nuisances. In my proposal, I have listed in there 10 days. After you have 10 days at $100 a day. After 10 days, you're $1,000 if you haven't moved the vehicle, you're probably not going to move. And then after that, we would be able to move forward with towing the vehicle from the private residence, according to state statute and procedure to do that. So that's kind of the thought process moving forward. Like I said, the option for the car cover would require your action to allow that in the ordinance as an option for the property. It's just a thought as I read it from some other towns.
And that was just one vehicle.
Yes, sir. I'm
Just
sorry.
one.
Thank you for pointing that out. So, in the proposal, of course, it's up to you guys. You make the ordinances. You can have one of three. I just put one as a go-by, if you let them have one at all. Some towns allow up to three. I thought that was a little bit excessive. Because if you get three, then you want four and then five. So, thank you for pointing that out, sir. So that proposal was for one vehicle, but you can make it 0, 1, or however how many you want as the ordinance makers. The proposals that I sent to you have not been reviewed by Mr. Porter, our attorney. If it's something that you think you're interested in, I would recommend his review, since it is actually writing law, to make sure that the legalities are there if it's something that you are interested in, as I have written. I didn't want to take up his time until I kind of had a better feel for you guys, what you wanted me to do with the proposed ordinances. There are currently 32 known abandoned and or junk vehicles in the town that we know of right now. So we have at least 32 that we can move forward with pretty quickly as we solidify the direction the board would like for us to go with the ordinances. And then following up with the junk vehicles at the direction of Mr. Roy, we'll use the same model with junk piles, which I know is a concern for everyone on the board as well. Same premise, same thought as our officers are out in the community. They see them. We're actually going to have a process in place that Mr. Roy's working on with me where they can go into an app, download those, and we can get the process where someone is notifying them. In fact, we've had enough such deep conversation about it, Mr. Roy and I. The way we envision this is police officers, we have 4 patrol zones. Within the zones, we actually have neighborhoods where we would have officers assigned to particular neighborhoods so that they're there on, daily and weekly basis and then know, okay, I've cited this person, and then another officer don't come by the next night and go, oh, I cited that, they're just not randomly trying to enforce everywhere, they'll be assigned a particular area. And of course, I will be keeping up with them, so I will be keeping up with the statistics and making sure that we're doing that efficiently and identifying and taking care of these. Like I said, same model as we move forward. Once we get this off the ground, and actually, Mr. Roy really just wanted to move it forward, doing something, starting something. It's just kind of a low-hanging fruit, but using the same model with the jump piles, and then, the excessive growth of vegetation. So, any questions about what I put in your packets, for processes, or anything you would like to see in there that you do not see is regarding the ordinance proposals?
Well, I had a question. How would we ensure we get our monies for those fines?
Oh,
How would we ensure that we get our monies for those fines?
and that may be a question that Mr. Porter can answer. It is my understanding from our outsourced code enforcement at this time, and I think code enforcement for our county, those fines do not come to the town, they would actually go to the schools. I'm not sure how accurate that is.
The answer is, I don't know, I'd have to look into that. That's a good question.
That is true.
That is true.
Fines and forfeitures have to be turned over to the school board.
Mayor Pro Tem, I would like to comment. I'd like you to view this tonight as, even though technically we're not required to, we are creating or modifying our local laws. For that very purpose, I think some due diligence is required. I would like you to view tonight as basically the first read. It gives you a chance to comment and opine and to evaluate what's in your agenda packet. And a simple email over the course of the next week. Don't wait for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, okay? Just look at it and let us know something. If you have any kind of feedback, any type of opinions, just let me know. We'll try to incorporate it into what will be the second read. Think of tonight as coming attractions. We will bring to you the final versions at your next meeting. And this is a coming attraction so that you can get those questions answered. Specifically, as it relates to the fines and also the legalities with the attorney. These things should be vetted and signed off before you adopt them as ordinances and modify them with your attorney. And so I just want you to note that this is kind of more of a, what comes first, action, motivation, what comes first, chicken or the egg? At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. As long as you take some action, you'll get motivated. And we just need to take some action and move forward. That's the only way we're gonna get across the finish line, is take some action. So this is the first shot. And it is, I think Chief Jarman refers to it as low-hanging fruit. It's because, how many units you say, 30?
32.
32?
Yes, sir.
And so, now to further address your question, if there are 32 known junk vehicles, and we can abate 28 of them, is that success? Or is 100% success? 32 is the only way to measure success. So get started. Let's get 28 of them, and then we'll work with the 4. Whatever's left, or what we find in moving forward. But let's get started.
You were gonna say?
I had written a note here I wanted to point out. The current ordinance only allows us to tow a vehicle as written is if you or someone designated to the town employee identify the vehicle as being a health or safety hazard. And that's the only way that it can be towed. So in the proposed ordinance that I included in your packet under General Statute 168, 300.2, it actually allows you to tow a vehicle if you so desire as a board, if you find that the benefits of removing the vehicle outweigh the burdens imposed on the private property owner. So as the ordinance is currently written, unless that vehicle is a health hazard, we're not allowed to move it based on the way the ordinance is currently written. So that's why I added that sightliness being more detrimental to the community than to ownership of the property.
Chief Jarman, thank you. Out of these 32 abandoned or junk vehicles, how many of them are multiple at the same location?
Not that many that I think there are a few that, like you say. So the majority of them will be single vehicles, with that quick option fix, if you approve it, of car cover. May update that for us, if you like that as an option. There again, it's your decision. We will enforce what you tell us to do.
And so that'll weigh into the decision on how many that are authorized. If there were a lot that had multiples, or if it was just one or two that had those. I did look up the commercial car covering, just for my edification, so that it's not something that costs hundreds or thousands of dollars. It is a simple car covering for that make and model of vehicle, and it could be used to neatly tuck away that vehicle from unsightliness, to include weather. If it goes raining, now we've got all kinds of mold and issues inside that. But I do like the fact that let the residents know, put them on notice that this is here and it needs to be addressed, and give them that option to abate that. And if they choose not to, then it gets addressed in other means. So thank you for your due diligence. Thank you for bringing this to us, and I look forward to good discussions on this.
I did have one other thought. Is there a statute that says that you have to have your, tags and registration on your vehicle?
If it is on a public street or highway, public vehicular area, yes ma'am. If it's on your private property, state law doesn't include that, but it does define what a junk or abandoned vehicle is, which the state allows you as a local governing body to decide what, if anything, to do with that.
Chief,
Yes, sir.
succinctly, quick briefing on the app. We talked about it already before one of our meetings. We had a conference call last week. Already go up, and we actually invited some to participate. Mayor Pro Tem Cooper did participate in the online meeting, and we're moving forward. Good. What do you recall?
I thought it was a great program. It brings us into the new age of technology. It's going to make us more efficient as we move forward with this. And we'll be able to operate, because what it would do is, when I started off, it would keep me from citing Mr. Rory, and then another officer coming by 2 days later citing Mr. Rory, and he go, "You're picking on me," when we're not. It's just a really efficient, quick method. I think it's a great investment for us to use that program. And as we get this going, and we get the cars under control, get the junk piles under control, get the grass under control, I think you'll see it doing this. Because we're going to correct problems, we're enforcing the ordinances, and I think it's just, through time, it will be more monitoring and probably enforcement. But we want to abate one way or the other issues, and then just identifying them as they come up and having them dealt with within 30 days. So the enforcement will decrease as we get it under control.
For a quicker briefing, I just took a picture of myself. It's gonna do a coordinates on it. I'm gonna put it on this app. I don't know how to file it under classic, light, or what, but it's just that simple.
Yeah.
Just that simple. And it'll be routed to the person who can take action. Oh my goodness.
21st century.
And based on the guidelines set up by Mr. Roy, it's pretty stringent. So when we get those notifications, we will send out an acknowledgement to the citizen that's made a complaint, so they're not sitting there going, "Well, do they care? Did they get it?" There'll be an acknowledgement, we've got your complaint. And as we move forward, they will be getting automated updates as we move forward with the process, which is very customer friendly, which is what we want this process to do.
All department heads will be able to see it from their desktop. The concerns, the issues, and track them.
Mr. Palacios.
Hey, yeah, I just wanted to say thank you for working on this and bringing this to everybody's attention. You know, I know this is the first phase of the code enforcement ordinances that we need to be working on, putting some teeth to. I do like what was presented tonight, so, there's still some work to be done, I guess, but I appreciate you doing the work. Thank you, Mr. Dory.
Any questions?
Thank you so much.
We will bring this back to you, your next meeting, for a second read and hopefully approval. Okay.
All right, moving on to, oh my goodness, mayor's report. So the mayor asked me to remind everybody that we have First Friday, what date is it? Yeah, First Friday in September. That would be, the sixth of September, from 6 to 9, Main Street. She wanted to thank everybody for coming to the, past one. And we still need vendors and sponsors. So you can reach out to the clerk, if you have someone who'd like to be a vendor or a sponsor. As far as my report, I don't have any reports. I do want to thank all the staff, who hung around and made sure we were safe during the tornado, because I had so many phone calls and text messages. And, I thank you all for keeping everybody updated. Thank everybody for staying home, for those who did. And that's all I have, so I'm moving on to, Commissioner Thompson.
The only thing I have is that the Pactor Cruiser is still gonna be out there until school starts, so bring all those school supplies so we can support the police department, so we can get to the kids in the city, and that's all I have.
Mayor Pro Tem, thank you very much. So all the,
Uh-oh.
that's okay, she was done. You
Okay.
had your sidebar going on.
Here we go.
So anyway, Mr. Rory, thank you very much. Department heads, thank you. Town employees that worked during Debbie, thank you very much. As a commissioner, it was nice to see that the town was working. The communication flowed very well. The bridge was closed. I knew that was gonna get closed at some point over at Manchester. Got reopened up today. Information got put out to the residents so that they knew it was open. So it was good to see that the town worked efficiently during this. So, thank you for that. Military Veterans Affairs, we're 100% staffed. With Jesse Underwood today, that was good. And our cleanup totals for our last cleanup was 440 pounds. We had 11 volunteers that came out and helped clean up our town. So it was good to see that we've had some participation. We will not be doing the first cleanup of September. It'll be in conjunction with the town cleanup that will be coming up, and all these additional bosses will be talking about that. But, let's make this a productive town cleanup this year, so we can get a lot more stuff out there. But we've got over 6,000 pounds collected from our cleanup, so it's 3 tons of trash to come to roads and Spring Lake. That's it for me, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Commissioner Gracias.
If I may, thank you. So, I only have good things to say about the town staff and the first responders who supported us through First Friday and through Debbie coming through and made this process so easy and communicated so well. And we were so blessed also not to have a repeat of some of the other storms that came through here. So that was great. Thank you. Sorry. Thank you. This Wednesday, we have our appearance committee meeting at 4 o'clock. It's at the rec center across the street. Anyone is invited, and we do have a vacancy on the board. And one of the topics this meeting is going to be talking about public art sculpture. We have some submissions, and we're going to be making a decision as a committee on some selections to move forward with that will, in the future, be presented to this board to make the final decision. We'll have a public hearing at some point so that the town can have its say as well. but bringing public art to Spring Lake, along with the cleanups that we've been doing, is a huge benefit and accomplishment for us. So I'm glad that we're here. Also, the town cleanup that we do twice a year for the committee is scheduled for September 21st. And that is, the meetup is at 9 a.m. at the rec center. And we'll all come together and we'll collect supplies and we'll disperse among the town of Spring Lake, cleaning up the town, one fell swoop. It'll be good. We always have good turnouts in those events, so please spread the word to your organizations, to your churches, and to your jobs and neighbors. So all the help we can get, of course, is much appreciated. And I did want to just lastly say that the First Friday event, I thank the town staff, but we had a good turnout, you know. Considering the storm, I thought we had a great turnout, and I encourage other vendors out there that are interested in being part of it to come on out, set up a table. We need more food trucks, I think.
Yes, right.
But it was a great event, and it's always just so good to see everybody smiling. You know, take the night off and enjoy some music. So, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Commissioner Velasquez. Commissioner Chadwick?
Okay, so it's about that time. So registration for Pink Diamonds 8th Annual Cancer Walk and Community Festival is officially open. We need your support. We did it last year and we did it right and we did it well. It was amazing. We welcome and encourage team registrations. You can show your support for those impacted by a cancer diagnosis by wearing tutus, spirit gear, and painting your face. This is gonna happen September 28th at our very own town of Spring Lake, 300 Root Street. We wanna see you in the place. Everybody knows someone that might have had a cancer diagnosis, especially our very own Adrienne Thompson. And I will be walking in support of her. Also, I want to tell you about another event, Blind to Boundaries. It's Eyes Closed Out Open. They are having a fashion show, and this is to support people that have blind or eye disease. Okay, the general admission for tickets are $25 per person and can be purchased online at Eventbrite. And I will leave this information. This is also on September 28th, 2024. And this is in Fayetteville at the Vision Resource Center. And the phone number is 910-483-2719. If you need more information about the event or ticket sales, this is a number that you can definitely call. Last thing is I am an educator and school will reopen on August 26th. Please, guys, as the buses are running in the morning, please be careful as you travel. Be aware of buses that are in your presence, because we want to make sure that our kids make it to school safely and that there are no traffic accidents or anything like that. Also, our local schools, support our local schools. Spring Lake is somewhat of a poverty area for our students, and we want the best for our students, and I ask that if you can have a child, or maybe you don't have a child, support our booster club, Spring Lake Booster Club, support our schools with supplies, support our teachers. Our teachers are doing everything possible to make sure that your child has a first-class education. And so I just wanted to bring awareness to that because I myself am an educator, and it's not an easy job, but someone has to do it. So I'm proud to roll up my sleeves and get it done.
Mr. Rory Reed.
Mayor Pro Tem, I actually have a quick presentation I would like to make in regards to the manager's report. Most of you are aware that since coming to Spring Lake, there's been you as well over the last 2+ years have been focused on the budget, the expenses, and the revenues. We've onboarded Jimmy Overton as our finance director, and collectively, the two of us have spent quite a bit of time kind of analyzing where we're at. You were given a document tonight. At the last meeting, you had a presentation in regards to our financial position. You were given an overview statement tonight. The expectation is not for you to read through all of this stuff. I know it's a lot more detailed than maybe you need, but if you want it, you got it, right? It's the way it is. But one of the things it has also all the funds in terms of the project ordinances that we talked about, which I think is very valuable in that, if you'll forgive me for being a little bit negative for just a second, some of these funds or these projects, whether it's the Veterans Memorial Fund or the computer software grant, have really just sat idle. And we got action, motivation, chicken or egg. The only way to finish is to start. What's the best kind of project? Completed project. So we're working to try to get these things moving and get them ramped up. And so I'm going to be a bearer of good news, not. You also received in your budget documents that's approved for 24-25. It's not on your agenda tonight or on the desk tonight. It's a sheet that looks like this, and it goes over our revenues for the general fund. The two top revenue sources, as you can see on the screen, for the general fund is our property tax and our sales tax. The two top revenue sources is our property tax and our sales tax. Carly is
Press enter.
driving. There we go, got it. Figured it out, technical difficulties. Nothing that I'm gonna tell you tonight is exact or absolute, but I want the board and I want staff focused on what is coming. And I want them taking action now, not waiting until later to figure out what we're going to do. We've talked about this. It's worth keeping it in front of the board, in front of staff, so it continues to be a focus. Our budget assessed value is $425 million. If y'all recall, when we did the presentation to the local government commission, we were asked that question. I couldn't recite it off the top of my head. I think Carly passed it down here and told me. So just shy of $500 million, right? At a 74.1 tax rate and 98% collection, it was projected to deliver in property tax revenue ad valorem tax $3,130,000. That's the budgeted number. As you evolve, now we're here in August, and you start to collect information that you didn't have when you prepare the budget. What the actual assessed value comes in is $419 million. So a little shy of $425 million. But we're realizing a 99.52% collection rate. Therefore, it's estimated at $3,105,000 in ad valorem taxes. At the end of the day, we're off by less than 1% of our revenue projections, a 0.008 difference, which means that the net loss is about $25,000. That is noise, okay? That is noise. Let's not get focused on that. That is noise. But it is one of the top two revenue sources that we need to be continually focused on. So in order to raise that, the amount coming in revenue, we have to have an increase in the tax value, right? Or we have to take an increase in tax rate. That's the only way to deal with those two things. All right, to get more out of that in terms of that. Because we're already at 99.52 collection. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Cumberland County at a glance, we've made reference to this, is that if you look at the top chart, where you see Fayetteville in gray, Oak Mills in blue, Spring Lake in green, Cumberland County without a highlight color. What I want to show here, and want people to grasp, is that the median value of an owner-occupied housing unit, Cumberland County, $166,000, Fayetteville, $158,000, Oak Mills, $161,000, and Spring Lake, $104,000. We are dramatically lower. This is census information, right? Dramatically lower than the median price of a home in Spring Lake than any other municipality or the county at large in terms of the property values associated with it. So the tax base value, Fayetteville, is $15 billion. Oak Mills, $1,200 million, and Spring Lake, $425,000. You see where this is going? So comparing our tax rate to that of Oak Mills or Fayetteville is apples and oranges. Okay? And so when someone says, well, you got the highest tax rate, well, yeah, we don't have property values associated like it does in Fayetteville, Cumberland County, or even Hope Mills. If you look at it, from that perspective, tax rate is 51 cents for Hope Mills, but they got a tax value that's almost 4 times as much as what ours is. And so we're operating at 74 cents. They still have police protection, fire protection, things of that nature, you gotta focus on. So if you drop down to the, you'll see the ad valorem taxes to the right there, you'll see that same 3,105,808. If you drop down to the bottom, this is something that Jimmy has put together for us. It comes just from data. We can mine that data. This is key to understanding what we're talking about in terms of our budget proposal and where we're headed. If you look at Spring Lake and you look at the population of Spring Lake is 11,670 and hold that static, that represents roughly 1.97911% of the county population. Okay? Now, the reason why that's important is because our current second highest revenue, or highest revenue, if you will, is sales tax. We receive sales tax distributed right now based on per capita or population. So at the end of the day, we get 1.97911% of the total sales tax. You'll get to what that total is, okay? If we switch over, which we're going to next year, to the tax value or tax levy, okay, we will represent 1.02361%. Now, the short read on this is our sales tax distribution is going to be half. That's the short read. All right? So let's talk about the long read. Total, now these numbers are off a little bit because of last year versus this year versus, inflation and all that kind of stuff. That's what I mean about it not being absolute. There's that same 1.979%, and 1.02361%. If you do the tax levy, the difference. Here's what you gotta grasp from this, is that in this budget document, we receive sales tax for Article 39, Article 40, Article 42, and it says Article 44, but it's actually Article 46 that took place of Article 44. So that hasn't been changed. So, you'll hear finance talk about hold harmless. You'll hear them talking about Medicare and all these things that complicate this sales tax ratio. At the end of the day, we're talking about how do you distribute 2.25% of sales tax in the county, in Cumberland County. Either you do it by per capita population or the value, okay? What ifs? I just said that we're already switching over to tax levy, all right? We're gonna get to see our sales tax cut in half. Pick a number, I don't care what number, just pick a number and make the assumption that it's gonna be cut in half. And so if you know right now that we're getting, roughly $300,000 a month, which is equivalent to 3.6 million a year in sales tax, keep it simple, what's it gonna be next year? Cut it in half, right? Cut it in half. That's not technically true, but it's at least keeping it simple, keeping your mind in front of it. So what if we have an increase in the taxable value? This is critical to grasp and understand. Every time I spoke with Cumberland County about this, about the distribution method, they said, well, don't worry about it. It's gonna be more paid up than the ad valorem. Well, I want you to look at those numbers there. If you look at the 10%, 20%, 30%, 40%, 50%, if we realize a $1.5 million loss in sales tax, right? Our taxable value has to increase by 50%. So that 50% growth means instead of $419,145, it becomes $628,717,914. If we depend on the current ad valorem with the same tax rate, it ain't happening. All right, it ain't happening. Because you have to ask yourself another question. Why is the median values in these other municipalities higher than Spring Lake? What's the difference? Are they affluent? More housing? I got no idea. but clearly there's a difference. Don't let that, cloud what we're talking about. If you look at it, a simple 10% in our tax value will only generate $310,000 in additional tax at 74.1 cents. 20%, double it, 621 at 71.1 cents, right? So forth and so on. You see the same happening with those bills. The what if question here is, what if we get a 20% growth and that gives us another, what is it? All right, y'all tracking me then, are you? All right, 621,000 and 21% growth. But that's based on a distribution to where the others only get 20% growth. What if Fayetteville sees a growth in their tax value of 40%? Now you see that percentage? Now instead of being 1.2 something percent or cut in half, it might be 0.8, 0.9. Now our distribution goes even lower. So you gotta be thinking about how these two things happen and operate together. Once again, nothing is absolute, but gotta keep it on our minds, keep it moving forward. Another what if it's those smaller than other communities, there's that, see that fine line down there? If we don't have experience the same growth in the tax digest, that percentage distribution of the tax levy will go down. Now it's greater than 1% cut, or half cut. We don't know what that's gonna be, and we have no idea what that's gonna be until August of next year, right? That's when we get the documents. Everything we do leading up to the budget is estimates. They're close. I've already showed you that we're off by 1%, it's pretty good. But knowing that this is coming, this change in distribution, we have to prepare, we have to take action. Can't afford to wait. So this is what we typically refer to as cutback management. I have shared this. This crazy, ridiculous spreadsheet is my math. Okay, so take it to that, it's my math. You notice over here it says sales tax lost in that gray column, 1.4 million. If you come down to the bottom, or if you see some of them are highlighted, we can't do cutback management on public safety equipment. That's our debt, our leases. It is what it is, right? Our debt service, we can't cut it. It is what it is. PAL bill, those are restricted funds. We can't reduce our expenses on PAL bill. We can only use them for restricted reasons. If you go up and you look at tax collections, you'll notice that I showed a 0.73% reduction in tax collection. Can't do that either, right? That's my math messed up, but I corrected it at the end. No matter what, if you see that column in the front says general fund percentage, $9 million, those numbers underneath them, 5.84, 1.12, 3.95. The first action step begins tomorrow. All right? Every department will have to look at cutback management first and foremost, and look at all of their expenses. And in this case, the governing body is budgeted in this year at $100,726. If we assume a 1.4 million loss in sales tax, or cut in half, the governing body needs to take and cut their budget by 1.12%. That's all it is. That's all there is to it. It's a distribution based on the percentage of total budget. You can't take and cut all the little departments and then not deal with the bigger departments. You simply can't do it. The problem with tax the rich is there ain't enough rich people, right? You can't do it. It won't make up the difference. You have to deal with everybody, every department in some type of distribution model. Look over to the far right, you'll see the $600,000 loss. And come all the way down to the bottom, that really is only about a 542 that we can, if we look at those percentages, because at the end of the day, I can't cut some of those others, right? Then come all the way down to the bottom, and you see tax increase. If we realize a $600,000 loss in sales tax, in order to generate the same amount of revenue, to keep everything equal, you gotta do a tax increase by 14.63 cents. You tracking me? You simply can't do one without the other. You've got to be hand in hand, working together, looking at both the cuts, the expenses, which is what we control of, right? We don't control the value of the tax digest, appraisers do that, tax department do, we don't, right? We control the tax rate. So with the assumption that the values are going to go up, we will have to present to this board next year the revenue neutral tax rate associated with maintaining the same level of revenue. But also noting that we're gonna see a sales tax loss of $1 million. We have to prepare for that now, not in the future, and go, oh my God, what are we gonna do? So I've highlighted in yellow-ish, I think it's yellowish or orangish, that sales tax loss of $800,000. I would like for that to be our immediate target. We're gonna assume that we're gonna have a sales tax loss of around $800,000, not 1.4. That calculates the fact that we'll probably get some increase in our tax value. I don't think it's gonna be 50%. You'll hear people say, oh yeah, we're talking 30–40% across the board. I think there's limits to assuming that amount as well. I don't think that's good budgeting, just to assume the high water mark's gonna be a 40% increase in our tax value. I actually think that would be poor management to do that. We'd be better off to look at the 20, not the 40. So we have to look at this, and some of these are very, very, very particular when you look at these cuts. This cutback management here. If you look at, well, we'll pick on administration. 3.95%. If it's a 1.4 million loss, that means we're cutting 55,000. You come across at 800,000, it's 31. At 600,000, it's 23. There's a reason why I'm getting to that 800,000 as well, to make sure we recognize what we're talking about in terms of budgeting going forward. Fire Manchester. For the record, I hate to even bring it up, but I'll probably go ahead and get out in front of it. We have met with the manager and discussed Manchester Fire District Station 11 staffing, the budget associated with that, and I have yet to receive a response in terms of what the funding will be for that. And I'm done asking. All right, so August 23rd, which is just a little bit of ways, all of the staff from the Manchester will be repositioned here in this station. We will be running out of this station, even for Manchester calls, up to September 30th. At the end of September 30th, if we don't have any additional funding, as we stated from the beginning, we will discontinue running calls outside the city limits to Manchester Fire District, and we will only respond to mutual aid. The problem is, who are going to be responding mutual aid to? We will not be first responders. We will be mutual aid, second, third, and fourth responders to the Manchester District. And we're going to stick to that. I think it's necessary. You can't continue to tax our citizens to provide services outside the city limits, and we have to be very cognizant of that. And so September 30th, if you look at that Manchester, you see that $91,000 is really much more than that. Okay, because you're talking about staffing equations with it. This just makes an assumption on sales tax alone, nothing else. Not other parts running with the general fund. Police. Chief Jarman, I shared it with him, 31%. How do you reduce a $2.8 million police budget by $438,000? What do? To shore it up. Find out what you're gonna do. You have to create these efficiencies. You have to look at what's the primary mission of the police department. All right, what are they doing? And so it's the patrol. You're talking about how we put those pieces together. Our folks need to be out in those communities, those neighborhoods, not at some central location. They need to be in the communities, actively engaged in patrolling those communities, looking at things that they can make a difference in. Inspections, we talked about that one. I'm not going to go any further on that. how do you end this? Barrel of good news. Effective tomorrow, all of our departments will be asked to develop cutbacks or reductions in their budget equivalent to what that percentage is associated with an assumed $800,000 sales tax loss. So in this case, you just go right down the list. Governing body, $8,941. What you gonna do, right? Administration, $31,591. What am I gonna do? I already know the answer to that. Okay? I already know the answer to that. And it'll be shared soon. Finance, $64,000. I think, Jimmy already knows the answer to that. Relatively easy. We just have to make those decisions and move the ball rolling forward. Legal, $5,000. Human resources, $8,585. IT communication, so forth and so on. All of those, I touch every single one of them. If you look at public buildings and come down to $800,000, you're talking about cutting at $39,278. Just today, we did the PO request to replace the HVAC units over my office. It's all about me, of course, right? So it's my office and over finance offices because they're the ancient, antiquated ones. A week ago, it wasn't working at the firehouse. There's something going on. Today, Carly walks in and says, "John, there's a leak in the council chambers in the boardroom." I'm like, okay, whatever. So then Jason gets involved and Steve gets involved, and they're doing this, doing that, trying to get it here. So apparently you got it working. All right, it froze up and wasn't working, so it had been hot in here. I'm highlighting that $39,000 reduction because prior to the adoption of the budget, I don't mean this the way this is gonna come out, but before I came, okay, there was nothing in the budget to fix stuff. It was, well, if it breaks, we'll figure out what to deal with. We put $50,000 in the budget in the buildings department for repairing or fixing stuff. And it's August what's the day, the 12th?
Look, we spent half of it already.
Gone.
Over 2 ACU.
Cool. See my problem? We'll get there. We'll be okay. All right? I don't want you to sweat and fret. Well, you may have to sweat a little bit, but nevertheless, this is where we're at. This is what it means to be in financial control and prudent in regards of what we're gonna do and how we're gonna budget for this stuff. And there are no winners and losers. We gotta seek win-win. Everybody has to feel their part and do what they gotta do to make it happen. Barrel of good news. Tax documents are available for your review if you like. I can send them to you digitally. I can send this to you digitally. At the end of the day, I think right now, for the board, just know that next year's budget, you're gonna have to reduce the governing body's budget by 1.12% or equivalent to 8,941. Or you have to increase the taxes by 19.51 cents. That's assuming no growth in the tax digest. So you gotta get some growth in tax digest. It's gotta be both of them, right? It just doesn't work. The math doesn't work. So, I wanna keep this on the forefront. I'm glad the staff is here. They've worked with us to go through this. They've seen this chart and they have that big, you feel it, right? Hard to swallow.
Aren't we in the middle of a revaluation with the county?
Yeah.
Cause I did the,
Yes.
if I didn't read it.
So so you get to object to that. So let's say this reevaluation creates 20% growth. It adds $620,000.
Yeah.
We're gonna lose $1.5 million or half, 1.8 million, if we base it on half in sales tax. And so even 20% growth only is gonna generate, $621,000. We're still gonna be $800,000 in the hole, right? Is my math working right, Jimmy?
Yep.
Close it up? That's what I'm
It's
saying.
the estimate, but it's close.
He's close. So yeah, so if we got a 50% increase in our tax value, if your property value went up 50%, okay, and we kept taxing it 74.1, yeah, then we would get $1.5 million additional revenue. That's a little bit more than the 1.5 or 1.4, whatever we lose, right? It's gotta happen on both ends and all three ends. It's a whole circular argument. You gotta cut, you gotta take and raise the taxes, and you gotta take and balance out what you're gonna lose in sales tax. There's just no other way that I can see. If you got something, if you got magic beans for, whatever, I'll plan them.
No, I was just remembering the letter, and so I was thinking that the, 3105, 808 would probably be quite a bit different. And not saying it'll be drastic, but it'll be quite a bit different.
It will be different,
Yeah.
but it will be nowhere near enough to make up for the
No,
loss of sales.
something like.
Nowhere near. And so it's coming. One advantage we have too is that we won't be making these other disbursements. And so I just think that the best number to use is that $800,000 to start from there. Now, not next February. When I gotta produce, the budget officer has to produce a budget by April 30th. I don't want to walk in and have to get the documents on, what did I get, April 30th? I'm sorry, June 30th. June 1st, and I got the documents on May 13th. And had to produce the budget for the board by June 1st. Crazy. I was supposed to have gotten April 30th, and I got it May 13th. That's what I'm trying to avoid. All right, very good news, I'll stop, I'll push.
Mr. Porter?
Nothing.
He gotta cut his budget.
I'm already working on it.
Meeting's adjourned.
Yeah.
I got